Good morning. My name is Erica Pandey. I'm a reporter covering business at Axios, and I'm here with Jeff Knittel, CEO of Airbus Americas. I mean, Jeff, there's no overstating the extent to which the coronavirus ended the airline industry. You've had airline CEOs come out and say the industry could shrink as much as by half or by 40% to survive. I want to start with a big question and then, get into the nitty-gritty of this. How do we restore trust in air travel?
So, first of all, thank you, Erica, and I have to applaud Lester for his commentary. I think it is spot on, and what Miami is doing is a prototype for the industry. You can see the rebound in the industry. It's slow, but it's steady, and the industry itself is important. I think we should start with, first of all, the industry, the travel and tourism industry, is a $2 trillion industry. And the airlines themselves are really the connective tissue that makes the travel and tourism industry work. So I think it's really important that the airline industry, we continue to focus on the standards, improving our standards, and we've done as an industry, and I'm talking about our partners, the airlines, ourselves, the OEMs, and the airports. We continue to work together and drive the confidence of the traveler. Now, what does that mean? Fundamentally, let's talk about the airplanes themselves. That's what we produce. It's obviously an expertise that we have. So we're spending a lot of time educating the public on what it means to fly in the airplane. You heard Lester talk about the safety measures that the airports are taking. Well, that next step, once you get to the airport, once you get through TSA, once you get to the gates, and Lester, I appropriately indicated all the sanitization efforts being taken and all the safety precautions, now you're on the airplane. So let's talk about that for a second. So first of all, it is not a closed tube. The air circulation in an airplane is better than essentially any place you can be, whether it be a restaurant or a hotel. Now, why is that? And the reason is, for the pressurization of the airplane, you have to flow the air. So the air itself recirculates completely every 2 to 3 minutes. Now, if you think about that, you're recirculating the air through HEPA filters. Now, people say, what is a HEPA filter? A HEPA filter is a hospital-grade filter. In other words, in the surgical rooms, that's what they use, and that's what we use on airplanes. And that's what we have used on airplanes. This isn't a new discovery. It's the way the airplane works. Now, the airflow itself starts above you and flows down. It's not forward to back. It's top to bottom. So the air that you have flows right over top of you, down and out. And it creates a safety barrier because of the airflow. The air in the laboratories, the air in the galleys flows overboard once it comes in. So I think we create an environment along with a fundamental thing, which is masks and the sanitization of the airplane. Every time an airplane goes out, it's sanitized. You put those multi-layers together, and an airplane itself is one of the safest places you can be.
I mean, that's interesting to me because, the public health experts are now saying that we were talking about hand washing and masks and social distancing, but it seems that ventilation is as, if not more important than all of those things when it comes to stopping the spread of this thing. And you're saying that ventilation on aircrafts is not that kind of, I'm stuck in the sky in a closed tube next to someone who may or may not have this virus for 2 hours. That's not the reality.
That's exactly right, Erica. It is not the reality. And it's part of our job as an industry. It's part of my job personally to ensure that people understand that people realize that airflow in that airplane is continuous, and it's very, very efficient, and it's safe.
And, beyond this, I mean, right now we're in the kind of acute phase of the crisis, but I do want to get to the ways in which, ask you to look into your crystal ball a little bit, how this might change travel. I mean, I'm thinking of business travel specifically. That's a huge chunk of that $2 trillion that you mentioned earlier. And business travel, I mean, the consultants are not flying all over the country anymore. Neither are the campaign workers. The Biden campaign chose not to get a plane. Do you think business travel will come back in full force? And then on leisure travel as well, do you think, which will come back first? And do you foresee any sort of change in the immediate or even longer term?
So let's start with the steps that we believe will occur. First of all, I think leisure travel will come back first. We're seeing it, as Lester indicated. We're seeing the pickup today. Back in April, traffic was down 94%. Today, it's down roughly 70%. Still a huge drop, but we're working our way back week after week, and that is a good thing. So I think what you'll see is, first of all, leisure coming back. We're seeing it now. Business over time. And the reality is people say, well, we have Zoom, we have all these neat things, just like we're doing today. And quite honestly, as much as I enjoy, Erica, meeting you on this call, Blue Jeans call, I think we're using in this specific case, the reality is I would rather meet you in person. I think and ultimately business is about relationships. And over time, I think that will reoccur. It's going to take some time. It'll happen first domestically. The domestic markets, I think, will open up first, and then over time, you'll see international travel rebound. But it's going to be a process. It will take time. It's obviously going to be driven by the virus itself. How well are we doing as a country controlling that? And how comfortable are people, whether it's going to restaurants or hotels? Once that comfort level is achieved, in a lot of cases it is, there's no reason that they can't fly to another destination, enjoy the benefits of being somewhere other than in their either little cubicle or apartment or home, whatever it is. So I do think over time it will rebound. It's going to take time. We think, again, the domestic markets, it's going to be certainly in the 21, possibly in the 22, and then the international markets likely will start to see a much stronger rebound towards 23 or so. But again, driven by the virus itself in some ways. When will we have a vaccine? How strong are the therapeutics? If we have therapeutics that make this a standard flu, that changes things also. But the facts are, Erica, we're doing everything that we can to control what we can control. And I think the industry overall has done a good job of putting the passenger in the safest place they can be.
And, even though you and experts like yourself do predict that everything will come back and return to normal, I wonder if that the domestic will come back first, that smaller trips will come back first, affects what kinds of planes Airbus makes. Will you be focusing more on smaller planes for shorter flights rather than those big international, carriers in the medium term, or are you just proceeding as normal?
Well, first of all, the airlines drive the airplanes that we produce. We have a terrific relationship with our partners, the airlines. We talk to them on a daily basis, and they're telling us what they're seeing in terms of the passenger counts and the specific routes that are growing and in need of airplanes. So when we look at that, you're absolutely right, Erica. The domestic routes, the single aisle airplane is in demand today. Airbus is very, very, I don't want to say fortunate, but I think we planned well to have a strong single aisle product offering. We go from 100 seats well up into the 200 seat range with our 220 and all the way up through our 321 XLR. Now, the 220 is our newest production airplane. And then when you go up to the 321 XLR, we have the 321 LR in production today, the XLR will be coming out in a few years, and that airplane will be a single aisle offering that will allow you to fly internationally. And that's quite a statement. So as specific routes rebound, rather than filling a wide body, you can utilize a narrow body airplane, and I think that would be very, very beneficial to the airlines. So overall, we think the single aisle market, as I said, will come back first, and we believe we have the right product offering in that market today.
And that's a great segue. I want to talk a little bit about before the pandemic. What was the cutting edge thing that Airbus was working on and that you hope to get back to when this crisis is, behind us or mostly behind us?
Well, we were working on a number of, we continually work on a number of quote unquote cutting edge technologies. We're always working on safety as the industry, trying to improve airplanes every single day. We're at an exceptionally high standard to begin with, but it's important that we drive safety every single day. Now, beyond that, we're looking at performance of airplanes and even coming up with efficiency. Environmental issues are important. We talk about them as a society every day, and it's obviously important to Airbus that we participate in that. So we're looking at different ways to power airplanes. Obviously, we use fossil fuels today, but we've also had some opportunities in terms of biofuels. We're studying electric, hybrid electric, and even hydrogen. All those things are on our plate as we look at opportunities to become a much more efficient industry and drive towards what could be a zero emissions airplane. We want to be aspirational. We think there are technologies that can drive that. Now, beyond that, because of the pandemic, we're looking at a number of things in terms of antimicrobial surfaces, touchless types of faucets and the like that will allow the passenger to continue to see the evolution of the technology and the highest standards.
Yeah, I mean, on the point of sustainability, the sustainability of air travel was a huge debate that's kind of been, pushed out of the way a little bit as we deal with the pandemic. But how much of an aspiration is that zero? Is that very far in the future? Is that something that we could see in the next 10 years?
Well, we've publicly said that we are looking at some type of zero emissions airplane by 2035 aspirationally. The industry has said 2050. We're trying to be aspirational in our thought process and in our planning. So we're looking to 2035. If you're not aspirational, you'll never get there. So we have a view that we're going to drive towards that. It's not easy. There's a lot of things that have to come together, but that is our view today.
And then, getting back a little bit to the pandemic, I'm curious about, yourself and other leaders in the space have said they're hopeful that things will change, things will get back to normal. Is there anything that concerns you about the way things are going? I mean, you're a national company. You're looking at the whole world. Any public health decisions or any kind of trajectories that actually make you a little bit wary of what's coming in the future?
Well, I think we've discussed the public health issues, and I think the consistency globally will be very, very important, and how we address it globally. But the next step is obviously the potential damage that could be done to the global economy from the pandemic. And that historically, when you look at major events, whether it was 9/11, whether you look at the financial crisis in 08 and 09 and the like, it's not just the event itself, it's the economic damage that was done after the event. So we constantly monitor that. We think that certainly here in the U.S. specifically, with the stimulus and the like, and the fact that the airlines have done, I think, a very, very good job of managing their cash burn, because every airline today is burning cash. That we are positioning as an industry ourselves for the future. But this will be a difficult few years. Let's face it. This the next year, 2, 3 will be hard. But I do think the industry will rebound, and it will rebound because we'll continue to educate the public. I'm very hopeful that there will be a vaccine or certainly a strong therapeutic. But fundamentally, I think the world wants to be a smaller place. People want to travel. As I said earlier, I do think that the aviation industry, the airlines themselves, are the connective tissue that make all this happen. So I think that we're absolutely going to get through this. It's not going to be easy. There will be ups and downs as we've seen. There's been rebounds in traffic. There's been flattening in traffic. Different areas of the world, it's affected, as you might imagine, in different ways. China now is rebounding fairly strongly. That's a good thing for the global industry. It's a good thing for Airbus as a global company. And we'll continue to work in the various regions to ensure that when people fly, they fully understand why the safety standards that we have, why they should be comfortable.
And let's talk about, touched on business travel. Let's talk a little bit more about leisure travel. You mentioned some promising stats. I know personally, anecdotally, hearing from myself, my family and friends, it's been a long summer. Lots of people haven't taken a vacation since Christmas. People are eager to get out. There's, governments in Barbados and Bermuda offering work from the beach for a year visas. Are you seeing, to dig a little bit into these numbers with me, are you seeing leisure come back already? And I'm
sorry. Go ahead. Finish your question, Erica. I apologize.
Does that give you hope?
So I would say this: leisure traffic is coming back. Is it coming back as fast as everyone would like? I think the answer is no, because we would like it to come back exceptionally fast. But I think people are realizing that there is a safety standard that they can fly with comfort. I'll start with my own family. I'm obviously flying in terms of personal and business, but my family is doing the same thing. They've realized that, and both my boys don't live, they are older and they live in different parts of the country. But because of that, and my wife, they need to move around. They see opportunities to move around. They see some great opportunities in terms of airfares and the flexibility of the airlines. And they have heard from me and others why it is safe to fly, and they are flying. And they're taking advantage of that opportunity. And I think that will continue to spread around the world. People are flying. You see them at the airport, and they're going to tell other people. And I think you'll start to see that come back. But there are, there's certainly the influence of the virus itself, and as we control that, the larger the opportunity for the rebound will be. But I do see every single week a rebound in traffic, and people realizing and taking advantage of the great opportunities to fly, as you pointed out, whether it's work from the beach or just spend a long weekend somewhere, that you can go to a hotel and feel comfortable. You can, obviously, as we've talked about, enjoy the travel experience in a very safe way. So that combination, I think, puts people at ease as they get educated in terms of that high safety standard.
And we've got a few minutes left here, Jeff, and I wanted to ask you about one of the biggest news stories. Before all of this started, it's no secret that your competitor, Boeing, was having big safety issues. Has that affected your business at all in terms of volume of orders?
No, it hasn't. As a matter of fact, prior to the pandemic, we were sold out for many years. We have 7,500 airplanes on order. The demand for the product is very, very strong. So what occurred, unfortunately, with our competitor really hasn't had a dramatic impact at all on what Airbus is doing today. We continue to focus on our customers. We continue to build, we believe, the airplanes that the customer wants. And now we're in a position to provide them as we move around different delivery positions, sometimes a little bit earlier than we could have in the past. So there are some opportunities there, but the fact of the matter is our competitor's situation hasn't really affected our situation because of the long lead time we had and the large number of airplanes we had in our backlog.
And then last question for you, what's the next flight that you're going to be taking and where are you going?
The next flight I will be taking is likely to Mobile, Alabama. I am sitting here today in our U.S. headquarters in Herndon, Virginia, overlooking Dulles Airport, and our industrial home for the production of commercial airplanes, and we produce helicopters and satellites and the like here in the U.S. But our commercial home is Mobile, Alabama. The people down there have been terrific. We're producing both our A320 product and our 220 product down there, and I'll be down there relatively soon, celebrating our 5-year anniversary of the opening of that facility. So I'm looking forward to that, and it should be a great event.
Thank you so much, Jeff, and thanks everyone for tuning in. Fascinating insights on the future of air travel. And the stat that I'll be taking away from this is that air recirculates on aircrafts every 2 to 3 minutes. I definitely didn't know that. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Erica.